जय गोपीजनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
राधा माधव
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की हिताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम Canto 1, Chapter 11, chapter entitled Lord Krishna's Entrance into Dwarka, text 21st. Bhagwan tatra bandhunam pauranam anuvartinam yatha vidya upasangamya सर्वेषां मानम् आदधे। भगवांस्तत्र बन्धूनां पौराणामनुवर्तिनां यथा विद्योपसंगम्य सर्वेषां मानम् आदधे। भगवांस्तत्र बन्धूनां पौराणाम् अनुवर्तिनां यथा विद्योपसंगम्य सर्वेषां मानम् आदधे। भगवांस्तत्र बन्धूनां anuvartinam yatha vidyaupasangamya sarvesham manhamadade tatra bandhunam pauranam anuvartinam Bhagwan tatra bandhunam anuvartinam avidyaupasangamya sarvesham manhamadade. Vaishnavis, Bhagwan tatra bandhunam pauranam anuvartinam avidyaupasangamya sarvesham manamadade. Bhagwan tatra bandhunam pauranam anuvartinam avidyaupasangamya sarvesham manamadade. Bhagavan, Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. Tatra, in that place. Bandhunam, of the friends. Pauranam, of the citizens. Anuvartinam, those who approached him to receive and welcome. Yatha vidhi, as it behooves. Upasangamya, going nearer. Sarvesham, for each and everyone. Manam, honor and respects. Adadhe, offered. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, approached them and offered due honor and respect to each and every one of the friends, relatives, citizens, and all others who came to receive and welcome him. Purport. The Supreme Lord, personality of Godhead, is neither impersonal nor an inert object, unable to reciprocate the feelings of his devotees. Here the word yatha vidhi, or just as it behooves, is significant. He reciprocates just as it behooves with his different types of admirers and devotees. Of course, the pure devotees are of one type only, because they have no other object for service but the Lord. And therefore, the Lord also reciprocates with such pure devotees just as it behooves. Namely, he is always attentive to all the matters of his pure devotees. There are others who designate him as impersonal. And so the Lord also does not take any personal interest. He satisfies everyone in terms of one's development of spiritual consciousness. And a sample of such reciprocation is exhibited here with his different welcomers. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanushalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So I'm grateful to be here with all of you today. It's been almost 2 years, more than 2 years actually. So I get strength by hearing the classes in Radha Gopinath temple, whichever part of the world I am in. And I'll try to contribute in my some small way to that shower of strength that is going from here to all over the world. So today I'll speak on the topic of appropriate respect. Subtitle will be like, respect doesn't mean agreement, and disagreement doesn't have to mean disrespect. So I'll speak on this broad theme. Let's look at what is going on over here. This is the entry of Krishna into Dwarka. And as he's entering, the various citizens are coming and receiving him. And the word used over here is manam. Manam adadhe. That Krishna offers respect. And what kind of respect? Yatha vidya. As is appropriate. So as the various citizens come and welcome him, pauranam anuvartinam. As they come and approach him, he offers appropriate respects to them. And this theme comes in the Mahabharata also. Among the Pandavas, Yudhishthira and Bhima are slightly senior to Krishna. And Nakula and Sahadeva are junior to Krishna. So although all the 5 Pandavas are broadly in Sakhya Ras with Krishna, but still there is a slight difference. And Krishna in that sense is a little more deferential, a little more respectful to Yudhishthira. And he is a little more offering blessings and guidance to Nakula and Sahadeva. So but even when he is in a superior position in some way, he is offering respects. The significant point over here is that generally the understanding is God is the object of respect. That the whole purpose of spiritual life, and especially of devotional life, is to learn to respect God. Because he is the supreme. Akela Ishwar Krishna Arasa Bhavritya. So that is one understanding. It's an important understanding. That we learn to respect God, understanding his position. But when we are understanding God, there are 2 aspects. One is understanding his position, and the other is understanding his disposition. His disposition. So actually understanding his position can bring submission, can bring humility, and that is important. But understanding his disposition is what brings affection. It actually helps us see that person as a warm, loving person. Say if somebody is the head of state or a very powerful government officer or a powerful military position, something like that, just okay, knowing about that person may bring some respect. But when we see how they personally deal with others, that is their disposition. Oh, this person is such a powerful position, but still that person is so warm, so polite. So what happens is that brings affection. So understanding position brings submission. Understanding disposition brings affection. And so here in the Bhagavatam, here this from the 7th chapter onwards till the 15th chapter, there is a glimpse of Krishna given as a precursor to what will be given in the 10th canto. Just like movies before they are released, there's like a trailer. So you could say the first canto is offering a trailer of what will come in the 10th canto. And here also, Krishna's disposition is what is being focused on. So normally, God is considered to be the object of respect, and he is. But how God offers respect is being demonstrated over here. Manam adadhe. So from that perspective, the principle of devotion is understood by contemplating God's position. That, okay, I have to become a devotee. But the practice of devotion is better understood by contemplating his disposition. How does he act? So even though Krishna is not really acting as a devotee, Mahaprabhu comes and acts as a devotee. But even in Krishna acts, he's a part of a Brahminical culture. And he is not always, I am God, obey me. That is not his mood. Even in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's focus is not on his own divinity. Krishna talks about his divinity primarily to persuade Arjuna as a part of the development of his argument. If that was his sole argument, Krishna could have finished the Bhagavad Gita in 6 words. I am God, obey me, fight. Gita over now. But Krishna doesn't do that. So even through the Gita, actually Krishna's disposition is revealed. Manamadhadhe. So from this example of how Krishna is offering appropriate respects. So even when we bless, even if we are in a position where we bless someone, now even blessing is based on a foundation of respect. Because who is considered worthy of being blessed? Now there is some good in you and I want more good to come in for you. Isn't it? So even in blessing, it's not a position of superiority. That it's actually from a position of appreciation for the other person. So appropriate respect is important. Now we could go into different levels of devotees and how to offer respects to them. That is talked about in the nectar of instruction. But I won't go into that direction. I'll talk about situations where it is difficult to offer respect. And how do we go about offering respect when it is difficult to do so. And one of the situations where it becomes difficult to offer respect is when there is lack of agreement. So quite often when there is disagreement, what happens is it leads to disrespect. So what happens if suppose we are saying something, another person is not agreeing with us. If there is not a foundation of respect, then what happens is we start raising our voice. But if there is a foundation of respect, we won't raise our voice, we will refine our argument. How? Because it's not that this person is a fool. This person is not dumb or stupid or mad or evil. Okay, if what I am saying is not making sense to this person, then maybe I don't understand their perspective, or maybe I have not considered the full picture. So let me refine my argument. So when there is disagreement, if we go into raising our voice, that will only worsen the disagreement. That is a Rajasic response. And then from Rajasic, it will go to Tamasic. And that will lead to, not only, that disagreement will lead to dissension, it can lead to violence, it can even lead to destruction. On the other hand, okay, this disagreement is there. How do I deal with it? If you focus on that part, instead of raising our voice, we try to refine our argument. Okay, that is a more sattvic response. And by that, it is not just that the other person will understand us better, but we will also understand the other person better. We will also understand our own argument better. In the sense that sometimes we think we understand what we are saying. But actually when we communicate to others, and then you say, hey, why is this not being as impactful? So maybe I have not understood the subject better. Maybe I have not understood the subject better. One of my main services is writing. So especially if I have strong disagreements with someone, then before I try to present that, I try to write things down. Okay, what are the points over I want to say? And I find that writing brings about, at least for me personally, it brings about 2 precious gifts. Humility and curiosity. Because what happens is once you start writing things down, writing helps us discover that the things we thought we understood, we have not understood actually. There are so many things which I thought, hey, this is so simple and so clear. But you start writing it down and then you reread it, hey, this point doesn't link with this point. This argument is not as strong as I thought. This I wrote down, I myself can refute it. Others will be able to refute it even more strongly. So writing brings humility. I think I know everything. Oh, but I don't know really so much. So writing brings humility, and writing also brings curiosity. Because while we are writing, what happens is, we are also refining our thoughts. Hey, this is not the right word. This is not the right construction. This is not the point I'm trying to make. So we learn about the subject more. So writing is basically one form of introspection. It is more systematized introspection with external tools of language. But the point is, that's one way to refine our argument. So if we are not getting along with someone, then instead of raising our voice and worsening the disagreement, try to refine the argument. So this is one way, a respectful way to deal with disagreement. But unfortunately, there is the other way, the disrespectful way of dealing with disagreement. And curiously, this seems to be more in religious organizations and religious people than in non-religious people. So disagreement is just a part of the world. But one of my friends is doing his PhD in like schisms in religious organizations. Schisms means when religious organizations split apart. So I was having an elaborate discussion with him. So he says that in general, if there is a secular organization and there's a religious organization, here I'm using the word religious and spiritual interchangeably. That difference is there, but it's not relevant for us. So he says, quite often, people are able to live with differences much more, not necessarily cordially, but it's like a live and let live. In secular organizations, but in the religious organizations, it doesn't work. When there are differences, often they get escalated. So, what is the reason for this? So what happens is, there could be many reasons, but one major reason is that when we become a part of a religious organization, it's not just a functional thing. Okay, I'm a part of this particular social group, or I'm a particular of this company, or whatever. We have put our faith over there. And we may all, say for example, we may all come to the Krishna consciousness movement. And we may say we have faith in Krishna. But all of us don't have faith, the same kind or same level of faith in the same aspects about Krishna Bhakti. Somebody's faith may be more in the deity worship, somebody's faith may be in the philosophy, somebody's faith may be more in the chanting, somebody's faith may be more in the seva, somebody's faith may be more in the association of devotees, just spending time with devotees. And so there are different aspects of bhakti, there are 9 limbs of bhakti, and different people may have faith in different aspects of bhakti more. In fact, those things may be the foundation of their devotion. So what happens is, in the secular world, disagreement is just disagreement. Okay, it's a difference of opinion, intellectual disagreement is there. But in this religious organizations, disagreement is immediately seen as not just a difference of opinion, but as a deviation. Why? Because if my faith is founded in something, and if somebody else does that thing differently, then you're not just having a difference of opinion, you are actually challenging the foundation of my faith. Challenging, why? Because what happens is, to get to what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Saragrahi, that to get to the essence of things is very difficult. It takes time. So, for most of us, we want, even if we are sincere and we want to approach that essence, but it takes time. So, till we get to the essence, we often hold on to something external. And it's not wrong, because we can't hold on to the essence immediately. And we want to hold on to the external so that we can get to the essence. And that is good if that external is helping us to progress toward the essence. So, for example, somebody may say that they may get a lot of strength in memorizing verses and pronouncing verses properly. And they love that. And they will, if somebody doesn't know many verses, if somebody doesn't pronounce verses properly, they say, is this person serious in bhakti? If they were serious, why wouldn't they put some time and effort to improve this? Somebody's, now, yes, verse recitation is important. And Krishna says it is worshipping me with the intelligence to study the conversation. But it is actually worshipping Krishna. We have examples of people who might be great scholars in the Gita, but they may have no devotion to Krishna. So it's an external recitation of verses, memorization of verses. It is an external which can take us to the internal. Suppose somebody's faith primarily comes from deity worship. So one of the schisms, the big schism that happened. Now I don't want to criticize any particular organization, but what happens is that the examples make some things clearer. So there is a there are religious organizations. For example, in the Christian tradition, in the pre-scientific age, pre-Reformation times, that means 13th, 14th centuries, there's like a big scholastic debate on the topic of how many angels can dance on the tip of a needle. Now, why should angels dance on the tip of a needle? And whether one angel or 10 angels, what is the difference? But on that issue, there was a schism. Now I say, why fight on this? But actually, if you go into theology, it was based on the idea of God's omnipotence and how God's omnipotence manifests through angels. What God can do to angels, what God can't do to the angels. Similarly, in India, there was a religious group. They had different forms of wearing tilak. And they had a royal elephant which would go in front of the deities with wearing a particular tilak. And the two groups started fighting which tilak should be worn on the elephant. And that case went up to the Supreme Court. And before the case was judged, the elephant died. So now, this may hit. Now, again, I said I don't want to make fun because, for sometimes the differences that we have among devotees, for outsiders, they also feel, why are you making such a small thing into a big thing? So what happens is when we say, focus on the essence and not on other things. See, there is a small thing and there is a big thing. And for all of us, there are certain small things which take us to the big thing. And that's why that small thing is also a big thing for some people. But that small thing may not be that big a thing for somebody else. I hope that small thing and big thing is not becoming a confusing thing now. So for somebody, the idea how many angels can dance, that is a very, very important thing because it is all centered on the idea of God's omnipotence. Or how a particular ritual is performed, how a particular tilak is worn. That is very important because they feel this is how God's presence is manifesting to me in a visible form. So what happens is, these small things, we cannot consider them unimportant. But if we make them all important, that's the extreme. If you consider pendulum, one is, it's unimportant. Why are you fighting over small things? But this, just because it's a small thing doesn't mean it's unimportant. But it does not mean it's all important also. The one thing is, it's don't fight over it at all. You are just making a small thing into a big thing. The other is, this is a big thing. How can you call it a small thing? So the point is there is subjectivity in how Krishna reveals himself to different devotees. If Krishna is a person, we have that beautiful verse in the 10th canto, when Krishna enters into the Mathura arena. Different people see him differently. That's not just, the young women saw him like Cupid and the Kamsa saw him like death personified. That's a vision. But that also is a universal principle that Krishna reveals himself in different ways to different devotees. Different people and even to different devotees. So Krishna's sweetness, Krishna's greatness, Krishna's attractiveness may manifest for someone through the precision of the rituals that are being performed. To somebody else, it may manifest with the precision with which verses are being memorized and recited. For somebody else, it may manifest to the precision in which the temple hall is cleaned. For somebody else, it may be manifested to the precision in which the food is cooked and served. Now, all these are important. But all of these may not be equally important for everyone. So the problem, when something which is a big thing for me, I make it into a big thing for everyone. And when I see that that person is not doing that thing, then what happens is, then I start thinking that person is a deviant. Because they are not doing properly the thing which is the foundation of faith for me. But that may not be the foundation of faith for that other person. So, because of this, what happens is, in religious organizations, it's not just a matter of difference of opinion, is not just a matter of intellectual disagreement. It becomes a matter of spiritual deviation. So, as one devotee was telling me, that sometimes some devotees, you go in front of them, when you talk with them, you have to justify your existence as a devotee to that person. And you know, okay, if you are a devotee, what are you doing? Are you doing this? Taking this bullet, taking this bullet, taking this bullet, taking this bullet. If you're not, then what kind of devotee are you? You're not a devotee. So, what is happening over here is, in bhakti, difference in religious circles and in bhakti also, that when there is a difference of opinion, there is disagreement. But disagreement very easily degenerates to disrespect. Because disagreement is not seen just as a simple difference of opinion, it is seen as a deviation from the process. It is seen as a person having gone off track. And that makes it very acrimonious. Sometimes the attacks become much more vehement, much more fierce than what they need to be. So I'll take one area where this often happens within our movement, where disagreement very often leads to disrespect, and how we can avoid that. And then we'll have some time for questions. So, among the various spiritual organizations which are representing, say, Indic wisdom, Vedic wisdom, Srila Prabhupada started the Krishna consciousness movement, and he emphasized philosophy relatively much more than most other widespread organizations. There may be localized organizations in sacred places which may go very deeply into Shastra. But among the widespread organizations that are there, not many have the ethos of a daily class and an emphasis on studying scripture. So now, because of Prabhupada considered philosophy to be important, but the nature of the conditioned mind is to go towards extremes. And when something is important, we make it all important. So what happens is, within our movement, there is a pitfall that philosophical disagreement can lead to personal disrespect. That when we disagree with somebody philosophically, we immediately start disrespecting the other person. So this is not due to philosophy. It is not that philosophy is not important. Philosophy is important, but it is not necessarily all important. So I was once talking with Giriraj Maharaj, and when he was writing this book on Juhu, so I was helping in editing some of the books. So we had a lot of discussions about his experiences with Prabhupada. So he recorded many of them, but there are many which couldn't make it into the book. So he was telling one particular experience that there was this Dr. Mishra of the Mishra Yoga Studio, with whom Prabhupada had stayed when he had gone first to New York. And because Prabhupada was speaking personalism and he was a follower of impersonalism, so initially he was very warm and hospitable, but then he told Prabhupada, Swami, you just do kirtans. You can't speak. And Prabhupada said that that's not my purpose. So he went into the Lower East Side afterwards. So their parting was not on, you could say, on the best of terms. Because Prabhupada was, in one sense, not allowed to speak over there. And he left over there. But many years later, when the Krishna consciousness movement had spread widely, Dr. Mishra came to meet Prabhupada. And when Prabhupada came to know, Prabhupada asked the devotees to arrange lunch. And they had lunch together and they had a very cordial, pleasant discussion. And after that, Giriraj Maharaj was there at that time. So Maharaj asked Prabhupada, I thought he's a Mayavadi. You said he's a Mayavadi, isn't he? Prabhupada said, yes. He says, philosophically, we argue like anything. But culturally, we are friends. So philosophically, we argue like anything. We are not that we are not dissolved our differences. We are not considered insignificant. But philosophy is not everything. Philosophy is one part of who we are and one part of who the person is. So culturally, we are friends. So Prabhupada could differentiate this. And how was he able to differentiate it? Because he didn't reduce the other person to just their philosophical orientation. So people are multifaceted beings. So people have their philosophical beliefs, people have their cultural practices, people have their personal behavior. So there are many aspects to individuals. When we reduce somebody to just one aspect, then we are manifesting what the Bhagavad Gita calls as knowledge in the mode of ignorance. Yattu kritsnavad ekasmin karye saktamahetukam atatvarthavad alpam cha tattamasamudaharitam. In 1822, when Krishna says that ekasmin kritsnavad, that you take one thing and make it into everything. That Krishna says is knowledge in the mode of ignorance. That means we take one aspect of a person and make that into the whole person. What is this person? This person is a Mayavadi. Okay, their philosophical beliefs might be impersonalist. But culturally, that person might still come and appreciate kirtan or worship deities or respect cows or go to holy places. So, are we to not look at the cultural aspect at all? Are we to neglect that? We see, Mahaprabhu did say, Mayavad bhashya sunile haile sarvanash. But every statement has a context. The context is that if we are not mature enough, if we are not strongly grounded in our faith, then if we hear Mayavadis, then our faith may get damaged. It may get destroyed also. But there has to be, but Mahaprabhu himself heard Sarvam Bhattacharya for 7 days. And he was very personally respectful. He didn't agree with Mayavad philosophy, but Mahaprabhu is an excellent example, especially his dealing with Sarvam Bhattacharya, of disagreement without disrespect. That he disagreed, but there was no personal disrespect at all. Very personal warmth was there. Respect was there all the time. So why is that? Because Mahaprabhu saw other aspects. When Gopinath Acharya is saying, he's treating you like an ordinary person. He's saying you're not God. You focus here, he's disrespecting you. But Mahaprabhu, what did he say? He looked at another aspect. He said, he's speaking out of concern for me. Although we have just met, he's like a father figure and he's concerned about me and my protection and my welfare as a renunciate. And that's why he's speaking things that he appreciated that part. So what is Mahaprabhu doing? If he had wanted, he could have said, he's a Mayavadi. I don't want to associate with him. But he didn't. He looked for something to appreciate and he found something to appreciate. So just because somebody is a Mayavadi doesn't mean that everything that they speak is going to be Mayavad. Isn't it? It's not that philosophy is everything in their lives. They also have various aspects and they will speak various things at various times. So there could be cultural similarities. There could be in terms of temperament, there could be similarities. So what is knowledge in the mode of ignorance? See, generally, knowledge removes ignorance. Tamasoma jyotirgama. That we go from darkness to light, we go from ignorance to knowledge. So what is knowledge in the mode of ignorance? What it means is, it is knowledge that doesn't remove ignorance, but reinforces ignorance. That I gain the knowledge, but whatever ignorant conception I have, I only reinforce that with the knowledge that I gain. So it is like, again, very selective information. So if we label somebody as a Mayavadi, then what happens? Then we will look for everything bad about that person. This person, there was this issue and that person did like that. Well, okay, they may have done some good things also. Why not look at that? No, because we have put a negative label on that person. So all the information that we will get is further going to reinforce that negative opinion only. So in such situations, our own intelligence is no longer clear where information is ending and where opinion is beginning. If we actually want to communicate effectively, we need to ourselves be clear. What are the facts and what are the feelings? Both have their importance. But if I get confused between information and opinion, if I myself equate my feelings with my facts, then I cannot make a coherent argument. So what happens is, knowledge in the mode of ignorance means we can't differentiate between information and opinion. We can't differentiate between facts and feelings. And we look for only those facts which reinforce our feelings. We look for only that information which boosts our opinion. This happens in every field. There is a philosopher of science who said that in science, the theories that we like, we call them facts. And the facts we don't like, we call them theories. So this is just human bias. Again, this is not a criticism of science, because this can happen in every area of life. So the point is that when we have this reductionistic vision, we reduce people down to one attribute of theirs, then that is where we exhibit knowledge in the mode of ignorance. And that is where our philosophical disagreements will degenerate to personal disrespect. Prabhupada could be very philosophically strong, but he was not personally disrespectful. When he met with people, he was warm with them. He was cultured and caring with them. So, Prabhupada knew how to engage with whom. So when Prabhupada, we know that he wanted to build the Juhu temple, he worked with many life members. Now most of these life members, they're very appreciative of Prabhupada, but they never became committed disciples of Prabhupada. So what was the reason? Many reasons, but one of the reasons was that many of these life members were already committed followers of other spiritual teachers. They were already influential in society, and if they're spiritually inclined, what happens is that if they usually find some spiritual organization to align with. So Giriraj Maharaj was telling me, and I had talked about this with his own Radha Maharaj also. He also said the same thing. He said, I visited the houses of many of these prominent life members, especially in their last days. And if you go to their houses, they're like big pictures of their Mayavadi gurus were there, in their homes, on their altars. And I asked Giriraj Maharaj, did Prabhupada ever bring that up? He said, I don't remember even one incident where Prabhupada brought that up. What did he see? Okay, they may have that philosophical belief, but they are willing to do seva. They are helping in building the temple, not just giving funds, but providing contacts and clearing the obstacles. So engage them in seva. So Prabhupada focused on that. We say one of the fundamental criteria of bhakti is sarvopadhi vinirmuktam. So we strive to become free from all labels. But the irony is, in following the process which is meant to free us from all labels, we impose a lot of labels on everyone else. Oh, this person Mayavadi, this person Karmi, this person atheist, this person meat eater, this person like this. Well, okay, they may have those behaviors. But are all Mayavadis exactly the same? Among Mayavadis also there may be different categories. Are all meat eaters the same? Okay, if you want to consider it, are all vegetarian people the same? No, there are vegetarian people who may be very pleasant and well behaved, and there will be vegetarian people who can speak obnoxiously and who may be very rude and cruel. So same way, what happens is when we take one label and make it absolute. Okay, this person is a meat eater. Okay, that particular habit may be problematic, but their other behavior, they might be cordial, they might be generous, they might be environmentally conscious, they may be having many other good attributes. But if we don't see that, then that label starts restricting us, restricting our capacity to appreciate how Krishna is acting in their life and what we can do to bring people closer to Krishna. And that's how what happens is philosophical disagreement degenerates into personal disrespect. But it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to. Because whatever be the label, and even however valid the label may be, people are bigger than the labels that they have. It's ironic that we say, I'm going to refute Mayavad. But when we apply one label to everyone without considering any other factors, we are actually practicing Mayavad. Because what is Mayavad? Mayavad is the refusal to see variety, to reduce everything to oneness. So if I don't see that, okay, all meat eaters are not the same. So I reduce all meat eaters to one, then what am I doing? I am actually practicing Mayavad, because I am refusing to see variety. I am reducing everything to a non-differentiated oneness. So sometimes in the name of refuting impersonalism, we may increase our impersonalism. Now, maybe not philosophical impersonalism, but relational, personal impersonalism. Personal impersonalism. What does that mean? That in our personal interactions, we are very impersonal. So, to avoid avoid getting caught in this trap. I'll conclude with this point, that how do we avoid letting personal disagreement degenerate, philosophical disagreement or any kind of disagreement degenerate to disrespect? No, we try to see beyond whatever labels we have applied to the mind, to people. See, it is just subconscious that the world is very complex. And that is why, to function in the world, we may need some labels. Okay, this person is a male, this person is a female. This person is English speaking, this person is Hindi speaking. For all practical purposes, it's not that we can wish away labels. But, so Prabhupada also used labels, and sometimes used strong labels, like fools and rascals. But the difference was, Prabhupada didn't reduce people to those labels. In Bhurujan Prabhu's book, My Glorious Master, there's a very beautiful passage. When I first read it, it was like, thunderbolt struck me. Prabhupada is saying, a pure devotee prays to Krishna, all these fools or rascals are suffering in the material world. Krishna, please deliver all of them. So he's using the word fools and rascals, but he is not, that fools and rascals is not coming in a sense of condemnation. He is not losing his compassion amid that point. So he is not reducing people to fools and rascals. He's saying, yes, the way they are behaving right now may be foolish, maybe worse than foolish, but still they are souls. Krishna, they are your precious parts. You want them to be delivered. So please make me an instrument in that. Please deliver them. So Prabhupada did not reduce people to labels even when he used the labels. But unfortunately what happens is, we only use the labels and we forget the purpose. Prabhupada's purpose was actually to elevate people. Elevate people. So we try to see beyond the label. Our mind will by default put some labels on everyone. And functionally sometimes it's required. But if we want to have a deeper interaction with others, then we try to see beyond the label. In fact, if we try to do that, our every interaction with others can become exciting. Because we all have certain labels. Oh, this person is too intellectual. This person is too critical. This person is too sentimental. And if we are going in a default mode, then our interaction will reinforce the labels. Yes, this indicates sentimental. But if we actually explore, can I find something about this person which will challenge the label I have for this person? Then we'll find the relationships, the interactions will become exciting. Because we'll be learning something about that person. And our own understanding will also grow by that. We will also become more broad-minded. So, broad-minded, how do you become broad-minded? He said, don't be narrow-minded. But what is narrow-minded? Narrow-minded means, in one sense, our mind produces some label and we reduce the reality down to that label. We narrow the reality down to that label. That's narrow-minded. So, broad-minded means what? Our mind will produce a label, but we, using our intelligence, see that reality is broader than the label. And when we see that, that's the way to become broad-minded. To challenge our labels and to see how reality is bigger than our labels. And that's why Anya Nindadi Shunya. The characteristic of pure devotee is no inclination to criticize others. Apaishunam. That aversion to fault finding. As I said, Krishna himself is God. He is the absolute authority. And he is discussing in the Bhagavad Gita about what is the right course of action. And Krishna in the 18th chapter talks about those whose recommendation is opposite to his. Tyajyam doshavadityeke karma prahur maneshinaha. So he says, Yagyadana tapa karma natyajyam iti chapare. He's talking about Yagyadana tapa and he says, some people say that these should be given up and others say these should not be given up. And Krishna says later on, Pavanani manishinaha. These will purify even the great souls. So these should be practiced. But significantly here, what is Tyajyam doshavadityeke? That there are some people who think that these should be given up because they are faulty. Karma prahur manishinaha. So Krishna is using the word manishinaha for those people whose opinion is different from his opinion. He is saying Yagyadana Tapa should not be renounced. And he's saying those who say that Yagyadana Tapa should be renounced, they are also Manishinaha. Manishinaha means what? Mana Isha. Those who have controlled their mind. That means those are thoughtful people. They're not just driven by the chariot of their mind. They think. So now, if their opinion is different, so this is a classic example of Krishna himself demonstrating respect amid disagreement. He says their opinion is wrong. But he says he's respecting the Manishina. Why? Because among the millions of people in the world, at least these people are thinking about how to become disentangled. And most people are so entangled that they don't even know they are entangled. But these people are thoughtful enough to think about the way to disentanglement. Even if the path that they have chosen, that may be wrong, their purpose is to be appreciated. And Krishna appreciates that purpose, and therefore he calls them Manishina. So if we learn to look for something to appreciate in others, learn for something to challenge the negative labels that we tend to apply to others, then we will be able to prevent disagreement from degenerating into disrespect. And that is how we can live cordially, even amid disagreement. Prabhupada has built a house in which the whole world can live. That's what we often say. Now, does that mean the whole world is going to agree about everything? No. The whole world, there are different devotees will come from different backgrounds, different natures. There will be disagreements. But we will be able to live together if we can learn to not see disagreement as deviation. I'm not saying that all disagreements are acceptable. Some disagreements can be deviations, of course. But the point is that if we default assume this person is disagreeing, that means this person is deviating. Then we will fight and we will not be able to live together in Prabhupada's house. But if you want to live together in Prabhupada's house, this virtue which Krishna is exhibiting here in terms of his relationship, which Krishna is exhibiting in the Bhagavad Gita, of learning to respect even those whom we disagree with, that is vital, not just for our outreach to the world, but also for the maintenance even of our movement. That's how we can have sixfold loving exchanges, which Prabhupada said is the lifeblood, is the nourishment of the Krishna consciousness movement. So we can learn to disagree without being disrespectful by contextualizing the disagreement. That this is just one part of who I am, not the whole of who I am or the whole of who this person is. So I'll summarize. I spoke 3 main points. First point I discussed is that quite often disagreement leads to disrespect when we are in Rajoguna or Tamoguna, because then we start raising our voice. But Sattvic response is refine our argument. So for doing that, what do we need? We need to actually consider that this argument or this difference of opinion is not everything. So knowledge in the mode of ignorance means we reduce reality to whatever is our preconception. And in religious organizations, disagreement can lead to disrespect much more sometimes than in secular organizations, because disagreement is seen as a deviation. So what is like the external that is taking me to the internal, I may equate it with the internal. And then if somebody is not valuing that external so much, I may start thinking that this person is a deviant. But this external is important for me because it's taking me to the internal, but for somebody else, some other external may be taking them to the internal. So to avoid these negative disagreement going to disrespect, what we need to do is not reduce people to labels, but see that they are bigger than their labels. Just because somebody is a Mayavadi or somebody is a meat eater doesn't mean everybody is one. They also are different. So find something to appreciate in others. We discussed how Prabhupada differentiated between cultural and philosophical, how Prabhupada appreciated even those whom he was calling fools and rascals. He was seeing that he was still having compassion. How Mahaprabhu appreciated Sarvam Bhattacharya, and how Krishna himself appreciates those who say we should renounce the world. So by such examples, we also can learn this art of disagreeing without becoming disrespectful. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Prabhupada ki jai. Is there any one question? Yes, Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu, for the super excellent class. Now, if you trace back to Krishna consciousness coming into India, we see that people who had this culture of being respectful to the elders and who were trained in that particular way, for them to take up to this process of Krishna consciousness became relatively easier. Not to say that others did not take, but I'm just to make the point that respect was such an important aspect of our cultural upbringing, even say 30, 40 years back. But now, because of this advent of social media and the lack of training to the new generation on this very important aspect of respecting elders, respecting the others when they are, making a particular point, accepting that without really, even you may have a disagreement, but still you be respectful. So this is all a part of the training that we all got and, we imbibed from our elders. And unfortunately, this is lacking in this present day and age. So moving forward, how do you feel that, the preaching of our Krishna conscious philosophy would need to take in order to, get such people also into the fold of Krishna consciousness?
Okay. So the culture of respect is increasingly being lost in today's world. So how can we continue our spiritual outreach in such situations? Let me start from the opposite perspective. That so while respect is important, sometimes the hierarchy of respect can become an obstacle. I was just talking with one devotee scholar. Okay, he is a Bhakti Yoga scholar, and he is appreciative of ISKCON. So he told me that he came to the temple and he liked the philosophy, and he said that this was in America, and he liked the chanting also, everything he liked, and he started practicing. And he says one day he just came and he asked the question, Prabhu, can you explain this? And suddenly the devotee next to him literally slapped him. He said, "You are committing an offense. He's not a Prabhu, he's a Maharaj." Now he knew nothing about it. And this devotee was not even discreet in that. He was quite overt in that. So he felt that okay, this whole process seems to be very complicated. So I don't know when I will do what wrong. And he says because of that, for 6 months he stopped coming to the temple. See, so my point is that sometimes the path of the heart, bhakti is the path of the heart. We may put such a power structure and hierarchy within that, and somebody does one thing wrong. Now, I would say it's also a problem, I'm not saying that the problem with the culture of respect, but how that culture of respect is to be taught. So this devotee, you are not respecting that Maharaj. He was making a point, but he was not respecting this person when he was speaking that point. So, see the irony over there. So, you are not respecting, but in that process, I am not respecting you. So, what happens is, the expectation of respect can become a problem. It's not that there should not be respect, but what does Prabhupada say about humility? To not be anxious to have the satisfaction of being honored by others. So, my understanding is that it's not that respect is lost. No, if you see, even in today's world, somebody who becomes expert in a particular field, they are respected. It's not that, say, if you consider social media also, now it's not always true, but if there is a particular video which has got a lot of views, now some of them could be the artificial, but quite often the content in that video is good. If somebody does music which is good quality, people appreciate it. Now, I'm not saying that just the number count is necessarily an indicator of quality. I'm not saying that. But quite often if there is quality, that is also respected. But the difference is that with respect to especially the postmodern or egalitarian Western culture is that respect cannot be assumed. It has to be earned. And that is a big problem. So if you see our movement, wherever there is the hierarchical, vertical culture, in India, in China, in Russia, in the CIS states, Krishna conscious movement is flourishing. We are growing. Even in China, although Hinduism itself is not legal, but a lot of people are becoming devotees discreetly. But wherever that egalitarian culture is there, that hierarchical culture is not there, we are not able to reach out to a large number of people. So why is that? Because we go expecting respect. We assume respect should be there. But respect has to be earned. So yes, should elders be respected? Yes, traditional culture is that, elders should be respected. But the contemporary attitude is, okay, just because you're older doesn't mean you are intelligent, doesn't mean you are wise. So you show me your wisdom, then I'll respect you. So it is not that respect is not there, but of course I'm saying that yes, it is overall, the way respect was given in the past, it is not being given. And disrespect is also very much there. No, I'm not denying that. But to assume that there is no respect at all, it's not true. Respect has to be earned. It cannot be assumed. That's why, just because, that's one of the difference I didn't highlight, the difference between, say, religious organizations and spiritual groups or spiritual people. Just, so traditionally, even in India, if somebody is, say, wearing saffron, or somebody is a leader of a spiritual organization, or in some influential position, that will bring some respect, okay? But in the West, no, it doesn't matter. By West, I'm not only talking about America. Basically, wherever there's egalitarian kind of culture. Okay, you have some post, I don't care. Show me your wisdom. If you have wisdom, then I'll respect you. So, religious hierarchy will not be respected. But spiritual caliber will be respected. But spiritual caliber, people cannot see that directly. They can see their position in religious hierarchy. But that will not give them respect. But if somebody actually has spiritual substance, that will be respected. So respect has to be earned. And that is, even among teenagers, if you consider, they actually need guidance. But what they feel is that, my parents or my elders are from a completely different generation. And what they speak doesn't make any sense to me. So if somebody gives guidance in a way that is sensible, they take it. It's not that they don't take it. Unfortunately, many of the people who make sense to them don't give good guidance. That is the problem. But if we can understand their way of thinking and then try to present it in a way that makes sense to them. So respect will have to be earned. Or I think Mark Twain, he said that when I was 17, my father was a fool. Now I'm at 25 and I'm amazed how much my old man has learned in the 8 years. So what happened is, and by the time he became 25, he also became mature. So he started thinking, he started appreciating that wisdom. So it takes time. So I found that if we don't assume respect, but we act, as I answer questions politely, deal with people in a respectable way, then respect can be earned. Okay? Thank you very much. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki, Itai Gaur Premanande.